I'm guessing that we're not here to talk about medicating the world, for ADHD.
Not at all. No.
But it is an option.
No, we absolutely are not interested in medicating the whole world. However, we do want to give medication to people who deserve it, to people who want it and are diagnosed.
Welcome back to the Grown-Ass Woman's Guide. I'm Jackie McDougall. Today is part 2 in our 3-part series with Kristen Carder, ADHD coach and host of the podcast, I Have ADHD. In the first part of the series, we talked about ADHD and how it might manifest in women and how to know if potentially you have it when you're going through so many other things like perimenopause or big life transitions, because it can all look pretty similar. This time, we're talking treatment, medication, non-medication, therapy, coaching, and so many other things that we can do to help our brains. This conversation is not here to diagnose you or a loved one. Only a licensed medical professional can do that. But it is here to help you understand your options so you can make more informed decisions. Let's dive in with a topic that a lot of grown-ass women are curious about, medication. Who might it be for, and what do the options look like in real life?
There are plenty of people who are diagnosed who are not being treated for the disorder, and that is their choice. However, it's such an interesting place to be right now because during and after COVID, the number of adult diagnoses really did spike. And so then there was this ADHD is overly diagnosed and we're medicating too many people. But the truth is, we talked about those transitions earlier, or those times of life where you were able to function with ADHD and then a life event happened and all of a sudden the rug was pulled out from under you. And COVID was one of those times, right? People were transitioned to their homes. Now you're working at home with your kids in some cases. And a lot of people struggled to manage and to cope. And so there is a spike that we can see during that time. That doesn't mean that everyone is diagnosed with ADHD. As a matter of fact, it's really important that I say that the adult population is actually underdiagnosed. So children are diagnosed at a rate of about 10-ish%, and adults are about 5-ish% of the adult population is diagnosed. There's a discrepancy between the childhood diagnosis and the adult diagnosis. Here's the problem. It used to be thought that ADHD was a childhood disorder only. It wasn't until the 90s that we knew, 1994, that we knew that adults could have ADHD. So all of this to say, it is a myth that ADHD is overly diagnosed. It is a myth that medications are overly prescribed, with the caveat, are there certain situations? Of course. Are there certain doctors just handing out Adderall to every child whose parent says, my kid can't focus? Of course that happens, but that's not the norm, right? There are these steps that everyone has to go through in order to receive a diagnosis. So yeah, research shows us that medication is the number one treatment for ADHD. There are multiple types of medication. So there's both stimulants and non-stimulants. And many of them have been around for decades and have been shown to be okay for long-term use. So all of that's great. For some people, it is life-changing. For some people, it is like putting on a pair of glasses and being able to see the world clearly for the first time. For some people, it's like finally being able to turn down the volume on the radio, or shall we say boombox, if you're a child of the 70s and 80s, the boombox that's been screaming at you for the last 3 decades, right? So that is a wonderful thing, but it should always make you feel better, not worse. If it changes your personality, if it turns you or your child into a zombie, that is never, ever what we're going for. We're looking for just leveling the playing field. So you're starting at the same starting line, hopefully, as your same age peers. That's all we're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's probably equal parts women listening who have children with ADHD and those who might be like, maybe that's me. What are some other treatments outside of medication?
So exercise is wonderful for the brain. And so if you have ADHD, whether or not you are medicated, you should absolutely be exercising as often as possible. Anything will do. Anything. Go for a walk, run, bike, kayak, hike. It doesn't matter. Dance, yoga. Truly, it doesn't matter. Just move your body. That is a huge, huge factor for brain health, for cognition, improved cognitive capabilities, and like reducing depression and anxiety, which are the cousins of ADHD that we usually bring along with us, right?
Absolutely. And I want to add to that is
Sure.
that do the exercise or the movement you enjoy.
Yes.
That is like, I'm 54 years old and I just found like the thing. I do this HIIT workout. It's half an hour and I go 6 days a week because it's short. It's community. It's all the things that I realize that I need. It's weightlifting, the weight bearing exercises, all the, the bone health, but you have to, I believe, like, I think anybody, but we're talking ADHD today. Like if you don't enjoy it, your life is going to suck. So if you're,
and it's not going to be sustainable.
No, exactly. If you're like, oh, I'm going to become a runner and I go buy my, Hoka shoes and spend $150 and then hate running, it's not going to happen. So I can't say enough that you have to enjoy what you're doing.
100%, 100%, 100%. So absolutely. I would say exercise is free. Like there are so many things that are free that you can do to move your body. So I would start there for sure. Therapy and or coaching is a great, great place to help you learn how to regulate your emotions, help you to get out of fight or flight, which is often what a lot of our distractibility looks like, is just kind of constantly being hypervigilant. And so trauma-informed therapy and or coaching is a great, useful tool. Again, whether or not you are medicated.
Pause there just for half a second. What would be the difference? Like, why would someone choose coaching over therapy and vice versa?
That's a great question. This is a very interesting question to answer. I think that the kind of party line answer would be therapy is going to help you process things from your past and help you to create an internal narrative of your story. So a lot of people with ADHD kind of struggle with just remembering things from their past, understanding who they are within their family system, understanding their wounds and losses maybe are still impacting them now. And honestly, y'all, that's very distracting to carry around these things with us that are not fully processed, can add to our mental load of distractibility and exhaustion. So I think that's really, really important. Therapy also, there's many modalities of therapy that you can engage with. So trauma-informed therapy could be like internal family systems or EMDR or somatic experiencing, like those types of things that are really going to look at the family system and your own body and how it is reacting, especially if you struggle with big emotions and rejection sensitivity. Get your butt into therapy. 100%. Coaching is great for, I want to set goals. I want to move from now into the future. So therapy, and again, there are going to be therapists that do that kind of thing, right? And so it's not really this clear cut, but a lot of times a therapeutic relationship is going to help you process the past. A coaching relationship is going to help you look toward the future. The thing is, though, it's real hard to look at the future if you're carrying around the ball and chain of the past. So a listener might go, well, I don't want to talk about the past. I want to create goals for the future. Let me just do that. Yeah. Well, you're still carrying around the ball and chain of your past. It's going to be really hard to create change for your future if you're still tethered to your past. So a lot of the work that I do with my own clients is like creating that future plan, but also acknowledging past hurts and kind of trying to reframe the past in a way that's really helpful.
Yeah, I love that. And what kind of questions would someone ask a potential therapist or coach to make sure that they are informed when it comes to ADHD?
So what's really interesting is that a lot of people will want to work with a therapist who either has ADHD or understands ADHD. And I get that. But it is really hard to find a good therapist, first of all. And then it's really hard to find a good therapist who also understands ADHD. So what I have told my people is, hey, just find a good therapist, someone who is trauma informed. That means that they're probably understanding one of the modalities that I already listed. EMDR, somatic experiencing, IFS, dialectical behavioral therapy can sometimes be trauma informed. And find someone who's going to help you process your past, process your story, help you to establish healthy relationships, help you to make peace with all of the hurts that you've been going through. And so maybe you want to ask questions specific to your past, like, do you have experience with healing from sexual abuse? Or do you have experience with narcissistic parents? Or those are the types of things that I would want from my therapist. A coach. Now you want to make sure if you're working with a coach that your coach understands ADHD through and through. So that might look like having a certification from an ADHD coaching body, or that they just know what they're talking about. So look at their stuff, listen to their podcasts, read their website. Do they sound like they get you? Are they able to list the symptoms clearly? Are they able to talk about ADHD in a way that doesn't feel shaming or blaming or judgmental? Do they create a picture for the future that feels hopeful? Or do they expect you to follow neurotypical rules for your coaching engagement? I mean, all of those, like with a coach, I would be very picky. And I wouldn't work with a coach who doesn't have ADHD. That's just me. There are ADHD coaches, certified ADHD coaches who do not have ADHD. I do not understand it. I will never understand it. I'm against it. I really am. So like, that's just me being, a little bit out there for you. So
you be you, Kristen.
I'm just being me. That's my opinion, that your therapist doesn't necessarily need to know about ADHD because we're working on processing past hurt, understanding your emotions, regulating, self-soothing, all of that. Whereas when you're looking at goal setting, accountability, and moving toward the future, working with an ADHD informed coach is going to be really, really important.
What do you say to people who, like, you have to live in a neurotypical world, but how do you also accept and celebrate and integrate who you are into that world?
This is the question of our lives, I think, as people with ADHD. And I think it really comes down to two things can be true at the same time. I can be living in a neurotypical world and there are expectations that everyone is just expected to meet. And also, I have a brain that works on its own time in its own way. And it is my responsibility as an adult to understand my brain, accept my brain, and give my brain what it needs in order to thrive in this neurotypical world. And that's why when someone is averse to getting a diagnosis or saying like, well, I would never take medication, I just wonder, are you giving your brain what it needs in order for you to thrive in the world in which we live? Because I understand, I get so many comments on Instagram that are like, ADHD wouldn't exist if our world were more accommodating, right? ADHD wouldn't even be a thing if kids didn't have to go to school. ADHD wouldn't be a thing if we were still back in our hunter-gatherer stage. And like, okay, but we're not.
Right. Right.
This is the world that we live in. So how do we help ourselves to grow and adapt? It's only through support. And I think that maybe our parents thought it would be through shame and through really strict rules and through guilt tripping and that kind of a thing. And we know a lot more now. So I think it's more through safety, compassion, and support. What can I give myself to be able to thrive in the world in which I live? So that means for me personally, I take medication. I'm really as rigid as I can be with exercise. I get as much sleep as possible. And for the people closest to me, like the people that I am paying especially like my therapist, my coach, they get me. I only pay and work with people who really understand me, who make me feel really seen and safe and heard. I'm never going to give someone my money if they're going to make me feel dismissed, invalidated, or shameful, right? And so making sure that I'm choosing care providers who are really, really supportive is just another way that I can support my brain enough so that I can show up in the big, scary neurotypical world.
This is such an important reminder that treatments are not one size fits all. So get the support you need and make the decisions that work best for your life. And if you know someone who would benefit from this conversation, please share it with her. It could make all the difference in the world. Up next in our final episode of the 3-part series, I talked to Kristen about depression, anxiety, and ADHD, because the symptoms sometimes mirror each other. So how do we know the difference? I'm Jackie McDougall, and this is the Grown-Ass Woman's Guide. Until next time, remember, you are a grown-ass woman. Act accordingly.